We continue in the 14th and final book of judgments. We dealt with the court, the Sanhedrin, the laws of the Sanhedrin. We now deal with, the laws of witnesses. We're in chapter 2. We began this yesterday. Okay. Witnesses who give testimony for a case. So what is the difference? Okay. Excuse me. Between chakiras, drishis, and bedikais. Those are the three different terms that the judges have to do to the witnesses. Translated, different investigations that are necessary to be done by the judges upon the witnesses. So he explains what the three different terms are. With regard to chakiras and drishis, if one of the witnesses gave specific testimony and the second one said, I do not know, their testimony is of no consequence. Right? If you don't know those things, then your testimony is not accepted. In other words, one witness does and the other doesn't. Remember, the Torah tells us we only accept two witnesses to something that it will be accepted in court as a viable evidence. Okay. With regard to bedikos, by contrast, even if both of them say don't know, their testimony is allowed to stand. Right. If, however, they contradict each other, even with regard to bedikos, their testimony is nullified. So we're going to see what does that mean? What's implied? So he's going to explain. If witnesses testify that one person killed another, one of the witnesses specified the year. Right. So this is the case in point, right? Witnesses say, two witnesses, that one person killed another, and they witnessed it. That's the point, right? Now, what does it mean? The first two categories that we have are chakiras and drishas, right? These are more basic ideas. So, for example, if one witness has specified the year of the 7-year cycle, the year, the month, and the day of the week, Wednesday, the time, 12 noon, the place of the murder, somebody they asked him, with what did he kill him? And he answered with a sword. Okay. If the second witness has outlined his testimony in the same manner, except for the time, he said, I don't know the time of day at which the murder took place. Or he was able to specify the time, but said, I don't know with what he used to kill him. Right? I did not take notice of the murder weapon. Their testimony is nullified. Right? In other words, that's basic information. You need to know when it happened. You need to know with what it happened. And if one of the witnesses knows and the other one is unsure or doesn't know, then that's not good. That's not sufficient testimony, right? If, however, they outline all of the above factors identically, but were asked, was he dressed in black or white? The testimony is allowed to stand if they replied, we don't know. We did not pay attention to the factors like this, which are of no consequence. So that's okay. That's part of the third category, right? Jesus chakiris and wait, what was the language again? Bedikas, right? Because that's a little more. Well, it's inconsequential. Then when it happened is consequential. Where it happened, how it happened, that's all very consequential. And if you're not, and if that doesn't line up, then it's not good testimony. But what was the guy wearing? I'm not paying attention to that necessarily, and therefore, if you don't know, right? Their testimony stands. Halacha 2. If one of the witnesses says he was wearing black clothes and the second one said that is not so, he was wearing white clothes, their testimony is nullified. But if they contradict each other, black and white, right? Black and white, so then it's nullified. It is as if one said it took place Wednesday and the other one said it took place Thursday, in which instance the testimony is of no consequence. Or it can be compared to a situation where one said he killed him with a sword, and the other one said he killed him with a lance. Then the need for cooperation of the witnesses' testimony is derived from, the verse says, and the matter is precise. If they contradict each other in any matter, the testimony is not precise. So even though it's not a consequential thing, right? What was he wearing? Right? The fact that they'll say, I don't know, that means that they didn't pay attention because it's not consequential. Fine. That's okay. Right? Halacha 3. But when they pay attention to it, and now they're contradicting. One says black and one says white. Now, if one said black and one said brown, good question, huh? Because that's not black and white. Or, one different shades of blue, let's say. I don't think that would be an issue. Halacha 3. The following rules apply. If there were many witnesses, if two of them testified in a like manner with regard to the chakiras and drishas, their testimony is allowed to stand, and the defendant is executed. Even though the third witness says, I don't know. If, however, the witness contradicts the other two, even with regard to bedikas, the testimony is nullified. So bedikas remembers as the insignificant things, like the clothes that he was wearing, right? So if he contradicted, right, black and white, so then testimony is nullified. But if he says, I don't know, then it doesn't nullify. Halacha number 4. If one of the witnesses says the murder took place on Wednesday, the second of the month, and another said it took place on Wednesday, the third of the month, the testimony is allowed to stand. Because they just got confused which is the second of the month, third of the month, but they both said Wednesday, right? Although there is a contradiction between them, we assume that one knew that the extra day was added to the month and one did not know. Because this is based, right? This is before there was a calendar. What made the calendar? Witnesses came to testify in the court when the new moon was, and then in court, the Sanhedrin sanctified the month and made it, today Rosh Chodesh. But the person might not have known that, and therefore he might have been off and thinking that maybe it's, Rosh Chodesh was only the following day, right? Because this information, it's not like the person it's not on the calendar. Remember that biblically, we sanctify the month with two witnesses. Today we don't do that anymore because we don't have a Sanhedrin, but that's the way we do it biblically. So the person said the second and the person said the third just might not have been aware of when it was sanctified because it's the beginning of the month, right? Until when does the above apply? Until the middle of the month. After the middle of the month, by contrast, one said it took place on the 16th of the month, and one said it took place on the 17th of the month. Their testimony is nullified, even though both then spoke the same day of the week. The rationale is at the middle of the month, everyone knows when Rosh Chodesh was commemorated. That should be already. So there's a contradiction here. Remember, when witnesses are coming to a court, first of all, you witnessed a murder. It's like, everybody, when you witnessed 9/11, you know where you were when you first heard 9/11. Everybody knows. Why? Because it was such a, like, awesome thing that you know where you were. You know what time it was even. And it's over 20 years later. You know, to hear you witness a murder, right? Not only witness it, because to be a witness, you have to warn the person. You're going to get the death sentence if you're going to kill this guy. So when the guy hands it back, that's why I'm going to kill him. I know. So there's like full cognizance over here of what's going on. So the fact that there's a contradiction, that's a problem, and therefore nullifies the testimony, as we were explaining here. Okay, now we're going into more detail over here. If one witness says, sorry, if I, sorry, if, however, one witness says it took place on the third of the month, the other says it took place on the fifth of the month. It's the beginning of the cycle. The most there could be a difference when the new moon and the sanctification of the moon is one day. So if it's third and fourth, we said then that's okay. They didn't know when the sanctification of the new month is, right? But third and fifth, that can't be already. So therefore the testimony is nullified. If one witness says it took place on the second hour of the day and the other says it took place on the third hour, their testimony is allowed to stand. The rationality is common for a person to err with regard to an hour. So you can be off an hour. If, however, one said it took place in the third hour and the other one said the fifth hour, the testimony is nullified. Interesting. Because that you won't make a mistake. I think, when you, especially, again, the indelible mark that it makes of witnessing such a thing, firstly, and secondly, before you go into the court, you're thinking it over because you're going to testify, so you got to make sure you testify properly. And the fact that, you're off by 2 hours from each other, then that's a sign that there's something wrong over here. If one witness says it took place before sunrise and the other says it took place at sunrise, the testimony is nullified. Even though discrepancy between them is less than an hour, the matter is evident to all similar to the concept of line with regard to sunset. In other words, because there's a sunrise, there's light now. Before that, it's dark. So there's a great distinction there, even though it's only within the hour, as we see ourselves. Yeah, let's do one halacha from chapter 3. The questioning and interrogation of witnesses is required with regard to cases involving both monetary law and capital punishment. As the verse says, you shall have one judgment. Nevertheless, our sages ordained the witnesses in cases involving financial law not to be questioned or interrogated unless this prevents loans from being given. What is implied? So he explains. If witnesses say so-and-so lent so-and-so a mana in this year, the testimony is allowed to stand even though they did not specify the month or the place in which the mana was given, nor did they say in which coinage the mana was given. Right. So here there's a different issue. Remember, lending money, a Jew to a Jew has to lend money without taking interest. So if I lend somebody money and I have witnesses to it, and I can't use those witnesses, or the witnesses are not going to be believed because they were off by an 2 hour difference of when the money was lent, guess what's going to happen? I'm not going to lend money. I'm not going to lend money. So we're more lenient with the witnesses when it comes to such a case. All right. I'm going to stop here. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Sei gesund.